You better roll them dice. You never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll them dice.
Hello, Rob. Okay, we've gone 300 some odd episodes without asking each other this question. How many sets of dice do you own?
This is a good question. I don't actually know, because and I'll tell you why. Because most of my dice exist in a big sack. I have a big pirate themed sack of dice.
The Sacco dice.
$20 at my failing local game store like 10 years ago. And I've never needed any more dice. I have like one personal set, which I like, and then a couple of others that I've picked up either because I thought they were nifty, or I bought them for someone who didn't want them or something. So like I think I have like 3 like boxes floating around of like specialty dice, and then my sack of dice. And so
of those specialty dice, how many of those sets were given to you as a loving gift from your grateful players?
Only a couple.
But
my players have given me a number of interesting gifts, but they do not give me dice for some reason. I think mostly because they forget. I'm usually providing dice to my players. Like I like almost every time.
The gift goes the other way.
Almost every time I'm like, I have to pull out the sack of dice because they forgot their dice. So I don't know. I don't know why they love to give me things. I've gotten all sorts of like weird gifts. I got like a book that's been like hollowed out for like rolling dice in. That was cool. I was trying to find out like what I think it was from Etsy. So I can't figure out like how to sell it to you because I don't even know where it came from. The point is, I am mercifully not burdened with like a lot of dice. Matt, how many sets of dice do you have?
Again, I don't know. I've never bothered to count because listen, if you, dear listener, are like us, you're the game master, and it is the game master's role to not know how many dice they have. They just know they have a lot, and that's the point of this episode.
You either have enough or you don't, and that's it.
That's it. It's the 2025 Dungeon Master of None. He's Rob. I'm Matt. Anti-holiday, anti-gift guide for stuff you may want.
If we were trying to sell you something, which we're not, we would have gotten this done before the actual holiday season, but we aren't, and we didn't. So this is, I think, just sort of like a generally useful guide. We started noodling on it, and I think that there's a lot of things that you as a GM might receive as gifts or request as gifts, or that you could give to your GM as gifts. But we are not dice goblins, as they are called, and I don't really endorse. Listen. What you do in the comfort of your own home, that's none of my business. But I simply can't.
As long as you're not parading it in front of my face and my players' faces.
Simply can't.
They're very impressionable.
Simply can't endorse the dice goblin lifestyle.
The great thing is, since the arrival of the golden era of TTRPGs, the market from Etsy to Amazon to gaming stores to Target has been flooded with fun little things that you can get for people who are enthusiastic about Dungeons & Dragons or other role-playing games. And I, as the GM, love to get such, mugs that says "World's Okayest DM." Or,
I have that one too. That's my favorite.
or a fun new DM screen. And these are all great. But Rob and I both have the opinion that the great thing about this game, this hobby, is you don't actually need lots of stuff and you don't need to keep buying things. However, we thought it would be useful to go over the things that we like to have if we have the time and money to shop for them for our games. Things that probably no player, no relative, no sibling-in-law who's like, oh, you like Dungeons and Dragons, let me get you a booklet that says 5e character journal or something for you when you're running your Savage Worlds or Blades in the Dark campaign and never getting to be a player. And you're like, well, okay, it looks nice.
It looks nice. I do have a number of things that are just like sitting on my shelf that look nice because they were nice gifts. But like, listen, I am no longer a budget gamer. I have finally ascended to where I can afford to spend money on things. But I know that many of you are on tight budgets, and I was for much of my life. And one of the great things about being a GM or playing TTRPGs is you don't have to spend a lot of money. Sometimes you don't have to spend any money. There's lots of TTRPGs that have free rules. You can print out everything that you need on your home, or steal your school or library's paper or whatever. So don't feel like you have to spend money on things. However, there are some things that have made my life as a GM easier and are just sort of like pleasant and fun to have around. Simple things. And that is what Matt and I are here to talk about. Things that you might buy if you wanted to.
And especially with an eye towards spending less money as opposed to more. Because we all love our things made by great little talented Etsy creators that make fun role-playing game things, but sometimes basics, especially if you're on a budget, are way more helpful and nice to have and can make your life as the game master easier.
Yeah. You can go out right now and spend hundreds of dollars on branded or specialty who's its and what's its, and if you want to, by all means, don't let us stop you, but you do not have to do that, and then that is not necessarily what we are going to endorse here. Also, we're not really endorsing anything. If we link, it's just a link. There's no like affiliate links. We're not making any money off of this.
No.
But yeah, this stuff that we like. This is honest grift. Speaking of honest grift,
a long time ago, in order to distinguish ourselves from people who use circuits and silicon to play role-playing games, people called TTRPGs pen and paper role-playing games. And so that's where I want to start with pen and paper, and that's the most essential stuff. And the great thing about pencils and paper is that pencils are like the most produced thing. You know, you can go back to the like Milton Friedman documentary on PBS trying to convince everyone of his brand of economics, and he talks about the manufacturing of the pencil and the power of market economics. Well, the great thing about pencils is that they're everywhere, and you usually don't even have to pay for them.
Sometimes they're free. Sometimes you just grab them.
Just grab some pencils. However, if you want nice pencils, I do recommend the Blackwing brand of pencils. They're really nice. That's all I got to say. They're really nice pencils.
They have a really good eraser. You can't go wrong with the Ticonderoga number 2, though. If there's nothing wrong with the OG.
That's a classic.
But the Blackwings are a really high quality pencil, and then they have a slightly better eraser.
Yeah, and I would say if you're getting something for your table and you're like, I don't want to spend money on pencils beyond the ones I have, buying a nicer eraser, which again,
yes,
a nice eraser is still not an expensive thing to buy. It's really, really cheap. But a nice eraser is better than a nice pencil because that's what your players are doing, constantly erasing things.
Speaking of annoying gifts, fun little gifts. I have some pencils that I got from either my wife or my players. Here's one that says "Unfinished Projects Pencil." And this one says, "Let me overthink that." So anyway, I'm much happier with these two pencils, which you
have one of those in each hand at all times.
Yeah. Rather than a box of dice. So, this is a great gift. So pens, once again, you really can't go wrong with just like a ballpoint in my opinion, just a regular old. However, I do have a brand that I like. This, again, I'm not making any money from this. I've come to really love these. Mubi has these little like gel pens. They come in a clear plastic, it's fine, but they're ballpoint gel pens. They write really smoothly. They have a nice width. I use them all the time. They last a long while. My favorite pen, but you really can't go wrong with anything. I don't like the felt tips. I don't like them very much, but that's personal preference.
I think it's nice to have a pen for yourself. It's like it's being in the director's chair. This is a pro game master move, is where your players all have pencils and you have a pen, and you're writing things down that are permanent
for notes and for annotations on things that that are not there for me. The pencil's for character sheets, for handouts that are going to be, presented to the players for drawing on graph paper. It's good to have both. I like to have a pen because do I prefer writing with pen? I don't know. Now I thought about it, I don't actually know.
do.
But it's nice to have for like my personal notes. I recommend you have both.
Yeah. And then if you're going to get some markers, if you're going to get a wet erase mat, which is something that if you're not familiar with, can come with grids or hexes or blanks that you can draw maps on and then erase. Any of the standard brands, there's no such thing, as far as I know, as a bespoke wet erase marker. But if such a thing exists, please let me know. I might actually be interested in. But a set of those are incredibly cheap, and as long as you put the caps on, will last for longer than several campaigns.
Yeah, critical thing to have. Not very expensive, easy to find.
And speaking of like the mat, right? You don't actually need one of those mats, even if you want to do like battle mats or like map out the compound that your, edge runners are hitting tonight. You can always, and it's probably cheaper in the long run, or at least in the short run, to go get a big, large pad of easel paper from the office supply store. These come with like 30 to 60 sheets on them. They're huge. They're fun to rip off. They're fun to write on. You can use any marker, pens, and pencils. Some of them even come with perfect 1-inch grids on them if you're doing the kind of miniature thing.
These are also really good for throwing up for initiative. You can, depending on how much paper you want to go through, you can just write the initiative up there. Once it's full up, then you can rip it off and have a new sheet. They're a very versatile tool for in-person gaming. You can use them for the actual map, or you can use them for notes, or for putting up, if your players are having discussion or whatever. Just the same thing you would use in a classroom, right? But right. It has infinite possibilities in your home game.
I have run mini games in classrooms, both for students and not. Some of my games we used to meet in unused university classrooms, and being in a room where every wall is covered in whiteboards and chalkboards is so much fun when you're like doing things, because then even your players can like map out who the NPCs are, what they want to do, draw some maps, draw the list of buffs if you're playing some kind of stat-heavy game. It's super fun and easy, and the way you can replicate this at home is getting a cheap easel from an office or art supply store, and then putting that whiteboard or that big pad like you would use for Scatagories. What's that one? No, not Scatagories. Pictionary. Yes.
Just like Pictionary.
Just like Pictionary.
I think Scatagories also
nothing like Scatagories.
Yeah, I mean you can buy a whiteboard of any size and just use that as well. You can get a small one, a medium-sized one that you can put on your easel. I strongly recommend, the reason why we're going over this, in case it's not clear, is like people are trying to sell you bespoke, specialized solutions, right? They want you to buy the TTRPG branded whatever, and there's a gamer tax, right? In the same way
they're discriminating against gamers. Yes,
there's the same way that there's a pink tax on feminine products and products that are marketed towards women. They will. It's like God, what the fuck is his name? That
you heard it here first. Rob is saying gamers are as oppressed, if not more oppressed than women.
Gamer chairs, as an example, you will spend $600 plus $1,000, $2,000 on a gamer chair. It is not better than like a regular like Aeron office chair. In fact, it is inferior to it. I have a steel case office chair. It cost me. I got it from my work when I was when I was they were when I was still working from home, and they like had a budget for this shit. It cost $600. That's a big outlay. It was a work expense. That is half of what the top end gamer chair costs, and it's immensely better. Sorry, I'm not saying you should go buy a gamer chair. I'm just saying don't buy things that are marketed to gamers because you're getting overcharged. Sorry, this is big take.
I mean, this spreads to like what we're talking about here is we love our friendly local gaming stores. We love those little places, and we want to give them business whenever We can if they're nice people, but yeah, the products online or in stores that are targeted specifically for hobbyists, whether they're RPG players or war gamers or whatever, are 10 times like more expensive than if you bought the same stuff from, and these like places are your friends, office supply stores and art supply stores.
Yeah.
They have all of these things at a much more reasonable price, right? The easel, the big
the graph
pad,
paper, the pencils, the pens.
Yeah.
There are some things, and we'll talk about them, that I think are worth buying from a hobby store, from your game store, but don't go there to buy all of your supplies, because they'll sell you bespoke branded supplies that are and like, I don't know if that's like your thing. Like I don't want to.
If you
like,
want to
that's okay.
spend the money, that's fine.
You don't have to.
When we go to the office, it's just the office supply store or the art supply store. It's really fun because you're like, here's some nice pins.
I love
nice
it. I'm like,
bags,
look, paper, binders, sticky notes. Like, I love this stuff.
Paper.
This is the world I live in. Here's an example. Right? I like the spell cards that Wizards of the Coast has started to make. I think those are neat. Right. They're expensive. I don't really like. I wouldn't buy. I think I got a set as a gift, which I use when I'm not running much 5e anymore. But when I do run it, I use it. I like it. I think that's neat. You can also just like write out or print out spell information on a Post-it note or a note card or whatever. Sometimes it's nice to have a shiny, like, well-designed thing, and that's sort of.
But they're like $20, right?
Yeah, they're not.
And if you wanted to get those for all your players,
right,
you're looking to spend $80, $100,
and that's not like inexpensive. So our point here is you can do a lot of the same things. Like, you can buy a bunch of like.
If you go to the art supply store and buy some really fancy paper, it will cost you a fraction of what that costs. You cut it up with your office's paper cutter, or maybe you own your own, and then boom, you have the same thing for 10% of the cost.
Right. But this is a decision that you have to make. We're just saying that you can very easily spend a lot of money at a hobby store because they want, they're trying to sell you a thing.
Yeah.
What else?
Office supply store is
paper?
really nice because they've got usually graph paper in bulk. I like something like a legal pad for taking notes for my campaign, and then I can put that into a binder or a folder. 3x5 cards are incredibly cheap if you go straight to the office supply store. You can usually find hex gridded paper at an office supply store as well, which is perfect if you're doing like outdoor wilderness or interstellar mapping of some kind. Mm-hmm. So I like blank. I like gridded, like 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter grid paper, hex paper, blank paper. Steal some sticky notes from your office or get it from the office supply store, and like some 3x5 cards. That's my paper limit.
Yeah. I like a legal pad or just like a simple lined piece of paper. I am going to contradict myself and make a recommendation for a specific type of notebook if you are looking for something like a little bit nicer. I really like, and this is a Portland company, so but I like Field Notes notebooks. They're really nice quality paper, and they come in a bunch of different sizes. So I have a couple of those. Those are also ones that sort of like come to me in either like gifts or I find them. So that's why I like them. But if you're looking for a specific brand, I like the Field Notes a lot.
Getting a Field Notes notebook or, a Moleskin or one of the, like 500 different brands that make the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Style notebook for your players is perfect for a campaign journal where they can keep their notes as a party or something like that. And then at office supply or art supply stores, you can find even smaller notebooks, ones that are just a little bit bigger than a playing card, which I find are often more than enough space.
Those are the ones I like a lot. Those are more than enough space. You can buy a bunch of little ones.
Yeah, you get players, like 20 of them for like $5-10, something like that. And yeah, you give one to each player. They feel like they have a spot to put their own personal notes about what they want to do down. That's perfect. It adds a lot.
I do want to make a recommendation for a battle map or a mat.
Oh yeah.
Because
let's shift from the player to the middle of the table. Yeah.
Because I have I did find myself in a position to need a bespoke solution. I was on the move a lot. If you don't host at your own house or your own location every time, I was also
if
biking.
you have to pack all this shit up, maybe you're not taking an easel and a whiteboard.
Right. And especially for a battle mat, the rigid ones were really hard to transport. They just take up a lot of space. So I'm not making any money from this. I really like this company. I looked for a solution and I found it. It's called Ergon Games. They make flexible, they're very foldable mats that are more like a piece of cloth, but they're treated so they're sort of resistant to getting spilled on. They're very durable.
They're like
I have
wet,
one.
Are they wet erase mats?
They are wet erase.
Okay.
And it just it folds down or squishes down really, really small. It's more like a piece of cloth than it is like a rigid mat. And it served me well. It's smaller than like a gigantic mat, but it's great. And I could throw it in my backpack or even like a work bag. So if you were looking for if you're on the move a lot, if you have to pack up and go different places, I really, really like this over the traditional, one that you roll up into a tube. Just because that just takes up a lot of space.
The problem with the tube one too is you want to test them out and if you're getting one of these probably at a game store and see how flat it lays. My main problem with mine, because I don't have an Ergon Games map, is it wet erase is fine. I use a Chessex battle mat. They're kind of traditional gaming company. They've been around for a long time. Their prices are reasonable. They don't always lay perfectly flat. It's not something that bugs me. I lay them out before my games when I'm hosting at home.
Yeah, I have one of those too. That I have my older one, and it's great. The Chessex is great, but it doesn't lay flat, and it takes up more space. And so this is one of those areas. Look, we live in a time of great abundance. No, you can't afford a house. No, you can't afford healthcare. But
you can get a nice mat.
You can get some really neat toys if you know what you're looking for.
One of those graphs showing cost of housing, education, healthcare over time, but the price of gaming mats going way down.
It's down there with televisions. Yeah.
I don't know how often you do dungeon crawls, but the Post-it super sticky easel type mats that are from Post-it or whatever companies that have 30 sheets or 60 sheets are $20 to $30 depending on where you are, and those are super nice. One of the fun things about those, especially if you're playing in a basement or something, is if you do a particularly cool dungeon, you can just kind of post it up on the wall and leave it up there for the next couple sessions before you inevitably recycle it.
Yes, those are great exactly for that. Yeah.
Anything else under the category pencils and or paper?
I mean, that covers it. There's lots of types of paper, organizations, stickies and tabs and note cards and whatever, and really it's kind of up to you what organization makes sense to you or what organization style. Matt and I both spent a lot of time in traditional academia, so I imagine we use 3x5 note cards and certain tab situations. I don't know, do you annotate your books with those little colorful
little clear yeah
but
makes you look crazy when you're carrying the book around.
whatever works for you, right? You don't have to do this, and many of you play digitally, and that works great as well. I find that I am not as organized when I am strictly digital. I need a combination of both, right? I have my rule books often on a laptop so I can easily search, but then I have a bunch of notes separately, or even also a physical rule book if I happen to have that. So whatever works for you. But I think that, having some, especially for your players though, having we love handouts here at Dungeon Master of None, and having note cards and post-its and little notebooks to hand out to your players, I think is a real game changer for helping them understand what's happening to them in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Just having those 3x5 cards or making your own out of nice paper will be the biggest value add of anything we have here. So I'll also mention the office supply store, because this is technically paper, but it's kind of the next category I want to talk about, which is props. Also has usually name tints or name stands. So stands you can put paper on. Those are really useful to have. They're incredibly cheap to buy because business people are using them all the time for their business meetings around business tables, and they work great so that everyone can have the name of their character in front of them, and they're not expensive at all.
Those name trays are really good.
Yeah, or you can just buy the paper that's automatically folded and save yourself 5 minutes of folding for the cost of $8. Props, Rob. So there's often things that you want around your table, right? And okay, sure, we could recommend get a fancy Bluetooth speaker for ambient noise. Kickstart the tube that emits the smell of dragons while you're playing. I'm not making that up. That's
no, I remember. No. I'm laughing because I know it's real. I remember when I saw it.
I will recommend, better than any of those things, is the power of the side table, Rob. Yeah. And do you know what I mean when I say a side table?
I do. You mean a separate table, a table to the side, because the table that you are playing on inevitably
doesn't have enough room.
Does not have enough room.
And you want to have your stack of, let's say, source books or binders with your notes or something, and you just don't want all that shit in front of you. Your extra dice, your extra pencils or something like that.
It's also a good place to put snacks and drinks if there's not room for them on the table.
Exactly. Having a shitty small table that has been, that you were going to throw away or you found on the side of the road, to put next to your chair as the dungeon master near the table. It's usually shorter than the other table, ideally, in my perfect idea of a side table. And having that next to you is really great. The side table sometimes, Rob, is a chair. That's not ideal, but that works.
It can be a chair. But you can also look, we're talking a card table, right? $10, $20, you can get it at Target or Walmart or or an office supply store, or on the side of the road, furniture warehouse. These are, inexpensive folding thing. Good to have, especially if you have your own space. And
the side table is truly a pro game master move. If you go into someone's, gaming room or place and they have a side table set up, they're serious. They mean business, and they're gonna be dedicated to running a good game. One of the things the side table does is it eliminates much of the need for the dungeon master or GM screen. And it also presents you as a less cluttered person than you are. They're not looking at you and you've got a pile of dice, a drink, 3 source books, 2 notebooks, someone's half-finished character sheet that's not being used in this session, a bunch of pins, a bunch of pencils, an initiative tracker. Instead, they only see 2 of those things, 3 of those things. It's an illusion, Rob, an illusion of competence. The side table.
A side table is essential for structural and psychological reasons, right? You are all listeners. Many of you are GMs yourself. You will know that inevitably, no matter how big your table is, it will the group and their stuff will expand to fill it. There is no escaping this. Matt once organized a getaway for me and several of our friends to play board games exclusively, and meticulously scoured the Airbnb listings to find the biggest table that could be found, leaving aside any of the other inequities of that particular place. And that table was very large. It was like a banquet table. It was, and yet, we very easily and in almost no time at all filled it with stuff. The side table, even though the actual area may not
Right.
be as large as a larger table will help you more than just having a bigger table, because the sort of like the separation of space.
You're thinking in 3 dimensions
Yes, that's
now.
right. Anyway, you need a side table, or you need a chair, or you need a counter nearby or something. This is a pro gamer move. This also isn't really like something you can buy. This is more just like
Well,
you can buy this, but it's more an organizational tip.
people have been trying to recreate the power of the side table through like $3,000 like bespoke gamer like setups. And listen, if you have one of those, good for you. That's awesome. They look really cool, right? But you know, there are companies that like make professional TTRPG style tables that have like little extra trays for you to put stuff on. But again, it's not as much room or as comfortable as having a side table. And so you need a lot of money to even approach the power of the little side under table next to your GM's seat.
That's correct.
We do not endorse the like whatever the most in vogue gamer company table manufacturer.
It's a funny thing, Matt, because like I don't, probably more because of my austere upbringing than any sort of like socialist credentials, but I don't lust for, you know, material things so much. I don't really like want like a lot of like fancy stuff. If I had a lot of money or a lot more money, I would buy a stupid gamer table.
Yeah, sure.
That's like the first thing I would buy. So I'm definitely like, if you have the money, buy the stupid gamer table.
If you have $5,000 to spend on a gamer table, have fun. That sounds great.
Buy a gamer table. Buy a gamer table with like the little you know, shelves that pull out, and like, you know, the retractable top. Listen, I'm into that stuff. But you don't need that. You can recreate much of it with, like Matt said,
by getting a cheap cardboard table that's small and low, or you know, like repurposing the like, I don't know, IKEA bar cart that your friend decided they didn't want because they don't know how to make cocktails, and they're like, why did I buy this $60 bar cart?
That's got
the bar
tiers.
Cart actually works really well.
Bar cart's got tiers, right? You could put different things on different like layers. Oh, that's a good idea, man.
IKEA, this where my side table. IKEA makes a cheap bar cart that has a movable like surface, so you can move it to the top surface, and then several trays below, so you can just throw all your books and extra props and terrain or whatever you're using down in the lower trays. That works really well. And it's always lower than a table. So, okay, the side table, that's a prop. We talked about, hey, head over to the craft store, your Michael's, the art supply store, pick up a cheap easel. You can put up your whiteboard, your chalkboard, your big pad to show whatever you want, right? This is great, especially if you're like not playing with a mat, but you still, you know, and let's say you have a really small table, everyone's gathered around, but you still need a thing where someone needs to draw something to explain something visually. The easel, perfect for this.
That's perfect. It's a great thing. It does fold down, doesn't take up that much space.
Yeah. And cheap easels are cheap. Like they are not expensive. Like $30 to $40.
Yeah. The other thing and the other prop that I highly recommend, that I have come to rely on pretty heavily in recent years is a dice tray. And it's funny, I have not acquired a bunch of dice from my players and from well-meaning friends, but I have acquired many dice trays. I actually have probably like a half dozen, which is more dice trays than a person needs. You need one, maybe, or two, but that's okay. I can swap them out based on my mood. But here's the thing. I don't know about you folks. I don't know about you, Matt, but my players cannot be trusted to keep their dice in any sort of or their dice rolls in any sort of like order or any, you know, cohesion.
They get so excited. They throw that thing.
They hurl their dice. And if there's cracks anywhere
like children
on the table, they're going to like throw them in exactly the way. So they end up cocked. The dice tray, it focuses their energy, and you're like, and it's just easy. You're like, throw the dice in the tray. And if they pop out, you're like, that one doesn't count. It has to be in the tray. It's just, they are like children. I don't want to like insult my players because I love them, but like they get so excited about their dice, and the dice tray means we spend a lot less time figuring out what the dice said, or like chasing them down because they went, hurtling off the side of the table. I honestly don't know how we lived without them. Dice trays are an essential. You can also like make this yourself out of like paper. You can just like fold up some like, or use like a cardboard box or something.
The lid of a nice thing that you bought or of a board game is the perfect size for a dice tray. And if you want to line it with some felt that you bought at the craft store, you can do so easily. There's probably even some board games that the box and lid has appropriate art for whatever theme you're doing. One of the nice, I think, game stores would be charging us the gamer tax on dice trays if people who were not RPG players didn't also need dice trays. So there's also like other types of games that use dice, and those kind of hexagonal dice trays have been around for a very long time, and they're usually very, very cheap.
There's also like a bunch of non-dice tray solutions. There's trays, like the kind of things that you put your like keys in or whatever, like anything like low and contained can serve this purpose. So there are lots of, like I said, I own several of these. There actually are some pretty fun game themed one. I have one that looks like a castle. Like I said, there's another one I have that's in a book that's been hollowed out. It's an R.A. Salvatore novel.
That's very cool.
It's cool. It's got magnets, so like it stays shut. That one's pretty neat. So if you want to spend some money on that, or just find like a box lid, but a dice tray I find to be an essential prop to running any sort of like in-person game.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be something you can buy, but it is super nice to have. It also can add some weight to your game master rolls, especially if you're the only one with a dice tray. Hey, here's I'm finally making a roll. Here it is in the dice tray. Getting one with very low sides, I feel like is important.
Yeah.
But you can always trust yourself to be less crazy with throwing the dice. Speaking of dice and trusting people and stuff, what about dice for yourself or your players?
We talked about this at the beginning. I have one set of very high quality metal dice, which I got either from... Did I get them for myself, or did my players get it for me? I don't remember. Those are my dice.
You told me your players got them for you.
That's right.
I remember when you got them, you showed me.
Yeah.
My players have also bought me a set of dice. It's nice. Your players are going to buy you a set of dice. I love having
They're notable
nice
because
dice.
they're metal.
They're heavy dice.
They're
It's
substantial.
heavy. It means it's expensive.
Yeah. Those I keep for myself for my special GM rolls, and then I have my big sack of dice. And if any of my dice in my big sack of dice go missing, oh well, that's no big deal. Sometimes in the past I have handed out one of those little like $5 square boxes to players when we start, because I was feeling very like generous. Yeah. I don't know, if I were infinitely wealthy and had infinite time and energy, I would probably do that every time I start a new game, just because I think it's nice. But for your players, just give them the cheap stuff. Get your big sack of dice.
Yeah, so like, the set of polyhedrals that you can normally get at a gaming store, it's probably made by a company called Chessex, which has been making dice and chess, I'm guessing, accessories for a long time, right? Is somewhere between $5 and $10. You can go even cheaper if you want. Many probably poorly sourced online retailers will sell you a set of 60, 10, 20 different individual dice sets. So it's, let's say, got a die of every shape, and it comes out to like $2 or $3 for each one. These tend to be like very lightweight and maybe not perfect, but they're perfect for me because I, like you, especially when I'm teaching new people to play like the fantasy game that requires all the dice. It's nice to give everyone their own set, and then you come back to the campaign a year later and you find everyone's purchased their own set, which is as it should be.
Right. Yeah, it is nice to have something you can part with if you want to. And they do sell them cheaply in bulk if you don't mind that they're kind of crappy. But again, these are plastic. It's different degrees of plastic trash. Yeah. Like it's just, we've been reading some of the lore of old D&D, and when you read about them creating the first dice for the the OG D&D sets, they were also trash. They were also fucking garbage.
Yeah.
They were really like not. It's not like they were using high quality dice
No.
in the 70s and early 80s.
They got worn down very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And I will say that, ChessX does make, for a modest price, good balanced dice of pretty much any kind. If you're playing a game that is like a dice pool system that uses lots of D10s or probably D6s, you can always get those in bulk, especially the smaller than normal dice that you often find in cheaper board games that are very easy to roll lots of them at once. They sell big cubes of those. Those are very nice. Chessex will also make pretty much any die they make in a blank format. So let's say you're playing a game that requires bespoke dice. Buy the blank ones, write on them with a permanent marker, or put a sticker on them to indicate what the side is actually supposed to be. There's great ways to print off stickers if you got to get it exactly right. So if your complaint for trying a game that has specialty dice and you don't want to buy those specialty dice, buy the blank dice from Chessex or some other game company and make them yourself.
I guess the tip here is don't spend a lot of money on dice unless you enjoy that. No matter what.
I like it when my players give me nice dice. I know that all dice are meant to be lost, so you just they're so easy to lose. They just keep rolling. So I would say before you leave the office supply store or the craft store, picking up like a big pack of manila folders, of binders, of those kind of stretchy accordion-like legal folders. Yeah. The legal folders are really nice because you can stuff a lot of stuff in there and they kind of hold things together. A pack of nice high-quality binder clips is very useful. I like those things for kind of keeping all my stuff together.
Yeah, I really like the accordion folders. I used to have one. I don't know where it went. Now I just use sort of like the regular hole punch binders, which is pretty good, but the legal folders are even better.
Yeah. And then I think this takes us to one of the like more debated stuff. Lots of people don't use a GM or a DM screen, that little bifold, trifold, quadfold you put in front of yourself. That's great if you don't use one. If you do use one, there's often one for the system you're playing that has like useful information on the back. I've never found the information on the back of them that useful. So this is one thing you can get from a gaming store is usually they'll have some generic type ones where there's little elastic things or clips that you can put stuff on your own, or a plastic sleeve in which you can stick sheets of paper in. I like that because I can customize it for what I want to put in. If you're taller than me, this might not apply to you, but I really like the ones that are kind of landscape size, as in the long edge is parallel to the table. That's just me.
I am a screenless GM most of the time, mostly because I haven't found one that I like, but also just because I take up too much space, and I find that I'm not good at staying within the bounds of the screen. However, I have been looking for one, and the ones that Matt's describing that let you sort of like put your own info in are pretty neat. And I do think this is a useful tool. And it does add to the sort of gravitas of being a GM. So it is something that I aspire to, and it is a cool thing to have. And it can be very handy if you are playing in a system that has ready-made GM screens. They can be very good. It kind of depends. Sometimes they have the wrong information on them, but sometimes they can be really handy. It can be really handy to have those reference sheets right in front of you.
I just want to hide like the miniatures or the like NPC or monster cards that are just about to come up, and like my notes about the session, mostly because I'm embarrassed and I don't want to see. I want my players to see the insane things I'm scribbling because, they haven't happened yet. These are just ideas, that I'm jotting down. And so I want those to be hidden. So for me, as short as possible, 3-panel, preferably generic. Actually, my favorite GM screen is one we reviewed recently that comes in the Mothership box set.
Oh yeah, that one is cool.
It's got insane art on the front that's very scary and weird and, H.R. Geiger-ish, but the height of it is perfect. And I wish all GM screens were this height. I'm looking for a generic one, the height of the Mothership's, DM screen.
Yeah, I've seen that one in person. That one's really cool.
Okay. Well, what about if you're not even using any of this? Your dice are just ones and zeros, surfing this information superhighway. What if you're playing online?
This is sort of like the sky's the limit on playing online, but like you don't need much. You need a functioning computer. God, you could probably even do it on a phone if you wanted to. I wouldn't recommend that, but like functioning way to connect to the internet and stream your face and voice. And this is interesting. One of those, speaking of that chart, where housing and healthcare goes up this way. Yeah. But one thing that's a lot cheaper than ever, are cameras and microphones. And Matt and I have some pretty nice ones now. But when we started recording,
thank you, Patreon listeners.
Actually, to be fair, we bought these mics before we had the Patreon.
Okay, fine.
But thank you for
let the Patreons pretend they bought the mics.
Yeah,
first. That'd be nice.
You can buy for like how much is like a Yeti is only like
it's only like $60. $60
these days. You can buy a $40 or $60 mic, which is really good, better than you would ever need for anything, and you'll sound great. And you can get like a $20 to $40 webcam that will do a great job. You could spend a lot more on both of those things, but you can get started for about that much.
Right. I mean, yeah, that we can't get into all the different tiers and pricing of these things because they're too vast, right? But I would say if you want to spend some money on yourself for your gaming needs, and hopefully like trick whoever you work for into buying it for you, because
the great trick here is you can get your employer to maybe help offset this because you say it's for meetings or whatever.
Right. I mean, we've all sat through some kind of online meeting, right, in which someone is speaking into their shitty laptop's shitty internal microphone, and it sounds terrible. And if you're running a game, you're going to be talking a lot, that I
listened to some guy who had CEO or founder or chief brilliance officer in his name, talking into the Apple microphone on his earbuds while I was, sitting in, on his laptop in a cafe somewhere, barely paying attention to me, while I'm in here with my, my full microphone setup. I can't tell you how often that happened. The point I'm making here is, do yourself and your the people you talk to a favor and spend a little bit of money on an actual camera and microphone. You'll appreciate it. They'll appreciate it. And it doesn't cost that much.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about, your virtual tabletop as like some kind of meeting, right? Maybe not the majority of the time, but probably the plurality of the time, your players are going to be listening and looking at you. So, if you upgrade those things, that will be nice. That will be nice for your players, that your voice sounds a little less scratchy.
Yeah.
I think the other thing we would recommend is, instead of going to the arts and crafts store or Michael's or Office Depot or wherever, is, buy yourself a game that you would never play or never run, but you think is interesting, that's not expensive. Like, treat yourself to reading a role-playing game that is fun to read, or a new adventure that maybe, hey, I'm never gonna have time to run this adventure campaign, but the ideas in it are interesting, right? This is where more inspiration can come from. And if you're gonna spend any money at the local gaming store, at least these things don't have the dreaded gamer tax applied.
This is a great point. If you've got some money burning a hole in your pocket, you go to your gaming store. I do this from time to time, not that often, but it's nice to go and just see like, hey, I've got $20. What can I spend it on? I could easily spend it on dice or terrain or any number of other, who's its and what's its, but also like $20, $30 will get you sometimes a whole game or an adventure or a supplement. I have mentioned this like 3 times now. We're going to do a review on solo RPGs, but I grabbed this really cool solo journaling RPG because it was in the front of the store and it was $10.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad it was way better than anything else I would have spent $10 on at the store. And you'll enjoy that more and you'll become a better GM. Obviously if you're there because you need dice, buy dice. But like if you're just there or you just want to spend some money, then do yourself a favor and buy an adventure, try something new, check out something that you might not normally check out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because when you compare, sorry,
yeah,
the thing is when you compare like, like it's I don't know, like it's really easy to spend $20. It's really easy to spend $20 these days, but $20 on like a book or a supplement or something, it goes a long way. Like it really, the value starts to stand out when you compare it to like how much you might spend on dice, for example.
And, I've rarely regretted spending $20 on a book, especially.
Yeah.
And if you need a sci-fi book that doesn't cost any money, check out Dianetics by L. Ron Hubbard. You can usually get it for free.
Just go find find your nearest testing station and ask. Yeah.
Look for the beepers. Speaking of books, Rob, if you want to buy a book I would say, again, buy a new adventure that you're not sure you're going to be able to run, or a new system that you don't think you could run but looks cool to you. You'll get a ton of inspiration there. We've talked about various Dungeon Master advice books. The ones that I have read that I can actually recommend are the Ultimate RPG Game Master's Guide by James D'Amato. It's full of like a lot of really good improv advice and good advice for a lot of games that are not D&D, and like really putting yourself, like how to really embody an NPC and a character or something like that. We've talked on the show about So You Want to Be a Game Master by Justin Alexander. It's great for how to prep the structure of pretty much every type of adventure. It's your prep Bible. And then if you're someone who's like, I do this very casually, I start prepping an hour before people get over. They come over, we kill some monsters, we have some adventures, and then we go home. Then the book for you is Mike Shea's The Lazy Dungeon Master book.
These are also the ones that I can recommend. Everything that Matt said is absolutely correct. They will help you run your games. You don't need these books, but they are helpful. They are full of really good advice. They're all very general, and that's a good thing. And these are the kind of things that can really like make a difference in just helping you if you're stuck, if you're in need of ideas, if you just are trying to get going on a game or a project or get prepped quickly, then these are really good things. I had Cess and Citadel down there, but that's more specific. We can talk about that at a different time.
Yeah, we'll have to save that for maybe a whole episode.
But yeah, these are these are like, I think these is like reference books, right, Matt? Like, kind of how you would have, I don't know, any number of, big histories on your bookshelf, or like a book of law if you're a lawyer. These are the kind of things that you like to have as a GM, just sort of like reach out and grab if you need an idea, or if you want to check something, or if you're trying to, iron out like a particularly sticky part of your prep. I like having these around.
If you need to pick up a new skill that you feel like you haven't gotten from playing in other games, or the act of playing in games, you feel like I'm missing this one chunk of how to do things, right? I think all of these books can help you. I think our like big point is you can, I have known people who have spent $10,000, I'm not joking, right, on like a bespoke terrain for their table.
Yeah, I have a friend like this. It's his hobby. He likes it. It makes him happy. Yeah.
That's fine.
It boggles my mind, but yeah.
But for everything for that, there's a solution. Let's say an easel 1-inch mat or a wet dry erase board that costs you $20 to $30. Or you can even like do that thing, but for cheaper. You can go to the craft store, and instead of spending $10,000s, you can make the terrain yourself. And that could be a fun skill you can learn. If you wanna spend $1,000 on the Reaper miniatures full adventuring gear collection, right? and commission someone to paint it, you could do that. Or, you could get a 3D printer and print it yourself and,
Right.
spend $200. If you're interested in 3D printers, I would recommend any of the Elegoo brands for resin ones, or the Bamboo Lab A1 for your filament printers, which are actually, it's closer to like near perfect resolution than filament printers have been in the past. Really great for terrain or monster printing. Either of those are good. But again, you don't have to do any of those things, right? You can go get the little, at the craft store, the little circle plastic pieces with a slot, and you can print out things to put in the base. In fact, if you're going to spend big bucks on any one doohickey set or item, it might be not a 3D printer, but a cool old-fashioned, like, regular printer. These things suck because they're expensive to keep up and they break, but being able to print off handouts for your players is really nice. Being able to print character sheets is really nice.
Having access to like a real printer is crucially important. I do want to recommend, if you are looking for one that will work, that doesn't come with a bunch of proprietary shit, that is just functional, the Brother Printer brand really,
thanks, Rob. You're my brother too.
really does it. I have one. I love it. I think it's a little bit spendier than like an HP, but it's great. It's great. Yeah, and Matt's right. Like if you are looking to spend a little bit of extra money, you will save a lot of both time, energy, and money printing shit at home yourself, and it will make your life a lot easier.
Yeah. I think if I had to like pick one thing, like if it's the screen or the like mat or whatever, like the thing that I most appreciate having at home is not the 3D printer. It is the 2D printer.
The 2D printer. So It's just nice.
And again, if you need to justify it to yourself, which I did, I was like, well, okay, I need a printer at home. I'm buying a lot of my role-playing books digitally, and that saves me a lot of money, but then I'll need to print off certain pages from them. So that's why I need to buy a printer. But, I'm saving money in the long run by buying less physical copies of role-playing books. So there you go. There's your justification. Or, again, don't spend any money at all and buy yourself nothing. Pick up on the side of the road or from a friend who doesn't want it anymore, a nice side table, or none of this at all. And don't buy anything, because that's the great thing about this hobby. No buying.
But if you want to spend a cool $5 on a very high value product, check out our Patreon at Dungeon Master of None. Sorry, at patreon.com/Dungeon Master of None. For just $5 a month, you can enjoy many additional bonus episodes and supplements and other nifty things, where we give additional advice on things you should and should not buy. And really, when you think about it, we're saving you money. By
it
preventing
pays for
you from,
itself, Rob.
From buying things that suck.
No, it does not pay for itself. If you're our listener and have other suggestions for things that are like really cheap or don't cost any money that you can get for yourself that are nice to have around your gaming table, drop us a line at dmofnone@gmail.com, or you can check us out on social media.
Thanks for listening, everybody, and whatever you do, keep rolling them dice.
Fuck you if you don't like Christmas. Fuck you if you don't like Christmas. It's not even about, you don't have to put up a cross. You just gotta get out and go to the mall. We need different stuff in the economy now. Things are changing.